have some really amazing wahine in the room. Not just our panelists today, but everyone in this room is making some amazing impact in your own way. So mihi to you all for being here. Just a little bit about our Women of Impact, and Paksy will come up and talk a bit more, but I'll talk a little bit more about what we've been up to since our manihiri arrived. So they've actually been here for the last week, and we started our week actually out at Ihumātao with Parnell, who should be joining us a bit later to have her kōrero. And to be able to show our guests that welcome into New Zealand and the beauty of what we have here and what we stand for and fight for, especially led by a wahine like Parnell, really for me felt a good fit for the kaupapa that we're here today to celebrate.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou. Ko Paksy, aho. I was born and raised in the Netherlands, in Europe, and I am so lucky because I was adopted 17 and a half years ago by a country called the United States. And it was actually really an accident because look, red, white, and blue, right? And so you would think that this is the American colors, but they happen to also be Dutch colors. So I'm good in both places. So I am very grateful to be here in Aotearoa. This couldn't have happened by my one adopted parent, the United States of America. So I thank the U.S. Consulate in Auckland for supporting this week-long program. 4 or 5 other women traveled with us to New Zealand. One had to leave last evening already. It's made such an incredible impact on our lives. It truly was transformative. And I would like to thank the U.S. Consulate in realizing this whole week of programming. I have had the privilege to interview 12 women of impact here in New Zealand. Some of you are here with us today. And obviously, you are all women of impact, so that's why I would love to connect with more of you. But I do want to ask Jethro from the U.S. Embassy if he has a few words for all these beautiful women.
It's been an amazing week. We really look to see how we can grow the relationship between the two countries on a people-to-people basis. So it's been really exciting to be able to see that fruition between the local communities, the grassroots people up in the Hokianga, all the way down to Auckland with the Callaghan Innovation and Māori Economy team. So it's a really cool, fun role, and I'm glad to be not the only male here today. So.
One element that has assisted in getting me to change my ways was when Paksy and I had a chat one Auckland Monday night. Not only am I an award-winning singer-songwriter, I am also working in social innovation in a place-based, high social, environmental and economic needs area, spreading across 4 local council boards here in Tāmaki Makaurau. We utilise our local and central government networks and connections to bring our grassroots community work right to the country's policy office door. We actually kicked the door down. I generally work between 3 locations and home, and that night before the Skype interview, I ensured that all my work was covered by curtains as we were conducting the interview at my kitchen table, and my kitchen windows were covered in my work. We started to talk about how we bring our whole self to work and what we do. I mentioned I work in systems change and that I was thinking about the same thing, and revealed my kitchen window wall of notes. Let's be honest here, we work in a broken system, but we are not broken. We find ways to disrupt for the betterment of improving human conditions whom some of us have experienced firsthand, and whom some of us lean in with love and heart and deem as necessary to make a difference. That is all we are doing here. To me, Women of Impact is a reminder to take a step back, own your space, run things, be brave, and always conduct with love.
Numb as we watch another angel fly, dollar bill, a pill to make you feel. I see you in all the things you do, it's all on you.
Part of my journey as a young person and as a young student, me and my tight group of friends, we created our own curriculum when I was at high school. And so we created our own curriculum. Some people call that wagging. But now we realise that we created our own curriculum. We did not know that. And so we would meet in the morning in our uniform, and then we actually have plotted out our day and chosen our own subjects. And so in our subjects, that included visiting Auckland Art Gallery, visiting Auckland Museum, visiting the local parks to look at sculptures, and it also included visiting places like Smith & Co's and department stores so that we could role play wearing in the hat sections of all the stores. So what we realized is that what I realize now is that we created an alternative curriculum that was filled with the arts, and that's what we used to do. And our in into those institutions was that when there were 4 students that would walk in our Auckland girls uniform, I'm out in our school now, they thought we were with a school group. They thought, so we would go in, pick up our artist chairs, sit down, and then draw. And that's what we would do. And somehow, after all that, we did all end up with our degrees. Don't ask me how, but we ended up with our art degrees. So my background is in the arts, it's in arts management. And it was really interesting for me when now I work at Auckland Art Gallery, but I can no longer wag because I work there. But so my heart, so what I wanted to talk about is that, so I work in the museum space. Now Auckland Art Gallery is New Zealand's primary art museum, yet less than 2% of our visitors are of Pacific descent. Auckland Art Gallery is our art museum located in Aotearoa, which is in the Pacific region. Pacific people, and that includes Māori, are located in the Pacific, and yet, we continue to be the least represented group in our art museum. Our Pacific artists are the least represented group in our artwork, so in our art collection. So for me, I work in education. I now manage all our art education programs and our outreach programs, our community programs. And it's imperative for me that we become a learning space that caters to our Indigenous ideology.
Dementia is so prevalent that over 50 million people live with dementia, and every 3 seconds there's new dementia patient. Of the dementia patients, Alzheimer's disease is major category, about 60, even 70%, depending on which country you go to. It doesn't have any treatment today. In fact, there has not been one drug approved out of FDA in the United States during past 16 years, in fact, worldwide. And it is affecting all of us because it's costing economic burden of the country everywhere. In particular in the United States case, just this year alone, they had to spend over $300 billion, and it's expected that by 2030, it will cost $1 trillion just to take care of one disease. This will bankrupt entire healthcare system. We need to do something about it. I believe that countries like New Zealand could really step up and lead in this field. One is capturing new technologies. The other spectrum is being here. Actually, I traveled quite a bit in North Shore and different places meeting many Maoris, and I learned the 4 corners, or I think 4 pillars of basic ideas for making your lives happier and healthier. Let me just actually pronounce this. This is not going to be really good, but I'm really into this, and that is taha tinana, taha whānau, taha waidua, and taha henenadu. These are kinds of, I think, traditional thinking that we need to actually incorporate in making our treatments and thinking more holistically. We could go back to this traditional way of making our health and life better. It turns out that today we don't have any Alzheimer's drugs to treat us or cure us, but there are very good scientific data which show that we could prevent it, or prevent at least the symptoms of Alzheimer's to show up later by having great exercise, meditation, most importantly, interacting with other people. Social interactions turns out to be the best medicine for making our brain very active. These are the things are part of these 4 pillars that you have traditionally practicing. We want to bring these kinds of ideas back, incorporate together with new technologies, and hope that with these new ways, countries like New Zealand could lead, collaborate with the United States.
My ask for you really is an invitation of you being stronger that voice within the organization or company that you're already with. Because not everybody needs to leave their organization and be on the barricade and wave their flag, right? You can be stealth and, maneuver within your organization to bring that purpose into that and the mission into that company.
A lot of the work that I do right now is primarily federally mandated, so that means I have to go out whenever there's land development or contractors to make sure that they're not going to destroy any cultural material. I am working alongside a research fellow at the University of California, Santa Barbara, and the work that we're doing is primarily centered around the Chumash community at the California missions, more particularly Mission La Purísima. And the project I'm working on with her is essentially uncovering what Chumash life was like on the missions, because a lot of those missions now are museums, and the history that they present is very colonial. Like, it doesn't incorporate what Chumash life was really like, Native American life. So yeah, what I do is uncovering what life is truly like there, and comparing what the private versus public lives of the Chumash were.
I've had to reimagine the spaces of the institution, and as time went on, I've been chair, I've been director of institutes, and I want to point back to what Paksy said about, when you're in an infrastructure or an institution that is layered and historically, marginalizing a space that segregates and marginalizes, you have to be a stealth shapeshifter. And even though you have these certain roles, you have to figure out ways to actually be invisible. I mean, it's not about title, it's about a kind of invisible impact where, and one of the other, Yoka mentioned her kind of designing their own curriculum, students designing their own curriculum. How do you have agency within these institutions that are so programmed with degrees and disciplines and departments? And I, as a faculty, I did the very same thing after year, where I was trying to transform my department from, chair or from different positions. I finally realized I had my classroom, and that was going to be the space that is my own and my students. And I started the Friday Academy, which essentially was classes on Friday with me that I completely considered at a different institute within a public research university. And we took on projects in the community, whether it was redesigning housing with shipping containers, affordable housing at a time when both students and faculty were part of a housing crisis. We had the highest medium income home price in the nation, probably in the globe, in Santa Barbara. No one could afford a house. So by finding a thematic that we could all relate to, turned into a design project, right? And then the other thing, as an arts professor, and this is my platform, is that arts are often an add-on after programs are developed, and I really believe that it's seen as extracurricular, recreational, entertainment. It's not seen as an essential voice, right? And so a lot of my work, both at the university and beyond the university, is leveraging, creating spaces at the table for artists to be present and to ask questions and to offer alternative perspectives. I mean, I'm an activist with tenure, okay? So I have the beauty of, as a senior faculty, of having power, status within an institution, and what am I going to do with that to really allow access and allow others to have access to the resources.
So 660, for you who don't know, are the biggest band in New Zealand. We have never seen the kind of support. So they sold out Western Springs Stadium in February of this year. They've recently sold out to do it again. To understand what that means, maybe 3 or 4 artists, the Foo Fighters, Elton John, Bob Marley did do 40,000, that was a long time ago. But only a very, very handful of artists in Tasmania could do that in New Zealand. So for there to be a New Zealand band, do you guys kind of appreciate that? Most bands are playing sort of like 5,000 would be a phenomenally successful New Zealand act. So 50,000 people came to watch this artist. So they're 5 pretty average, to be honest, blokes. They're sportsmen, bar one. They are like, just, I don't know, they could be a brother. But for whatever reason, by making a documentary on them, I'm able to find what that reason is that they have been able to connect so deeply with New Zealand culture, thereby exploring what it means to be a New Zealander in the 21st century. So a lot of the work, and a lot of my work is about who are we, how by documenting who we are and sharing that with audiences can we understand ourselves better, have more empathy, and hopefully move forward into more positive spaces.
Ngā mihi nui kia koutou ki te kōrero, ki te kaupapa o tēnei rā. My name is Kiri Nathan and I have a fashion business, and primarily I think I'm a storyteller and a sharer of things. It was lovely to hear Miyoung and Kim speak about their interaction and their experience with Māori culture, because I feel like it's one of my major purposes in life is to celebrate the crafts that have been handed down to me in a way that we can share with everyone and educate our own and our manuhiri, our visitors, on our culture and the wonder of it all. And what we did, when I say we, I mean my husband and myself, is we started a business 10 years ago in a dying fashion industry. It's a fashion label. At the end of a recession, and we wanted to create high-end Māori fashion. We had no reference points because it hadn't been done before, and we got many, many closed doors because the mainstream fashion industry in New Zealand, and mainly the world, is set up in a particular colonised structure, and we didn't fit into any of those boxes. So we've spent the last 9 years, finding ways over, around, and under challenges. And what's been wonderful about all the challenges and all the failures and all the closed doors over these years is that they have presented incredible opportunities, because we haven't given up, we've persevered, and we've been our authentic Indigenous selves. So in being our authentic Indigenous selves, we bring a unique voice. We bring products to the table that are first to market in the world. We bring storytelling and sharing of a culture that most of the world don't even know exists. And we've been very, very privileged to have been able to be part of this very, very tiny part of the sharing process. Like I said, we didn't fit into all the boxes in the beginning, and the opportunities that sort of came about by not giving up and persevering and being authentic in that journey, we are the first New Zealand fashion label to work with Walt Disney. We've personally met and gifted taonga to President Barack Obama, Beyonce, the Duchess. I was just going to call her Megan. Some of our taonga, First Lady Michelle Obama. We've been very, very privileged to have been able to be in certain spaces but along with that privilege has been a lot of responsibility to ensure that we can protect our cultural intellectual property. We sell 100% online because there is nothing out in our mainstream industries that can support with cultural integrity our brand, our storytelling, our culture and our products. And as a result of that, and seeing all the other Māori, Pacifica and Indigenous designers out there really struggling because they're dealing with exactly the same kind of challenges, I created the Kahui Fashion Collective, and so that is in total support of all the other Māori. I'll start with Māori because that's what I know, and that's where I am, and that's what I can do right now. However, that will branch out into Pacifica and world dominance Indigenous fashion. So we are creating, we have formed the first coalition with New Zealand Trade and Enterprise with a primary focus to export into China and the US as the two largest consumers of fashion in the world. We intend to do that by remaining authentically Māori, by protecting our IP, and by sharing this beautiful culture that only we as Kiwis have in the world. We have formed a mentorship program so that we can build support around all of the micro businesses and small businesses that are out there, and there aren't many, so that we can build our community firstly, and then build that community into cultural and business excellence, and then take that story to the world in force. It is all about collaboration. It was lovely to hear Miyoung talk about some of our some of the things that are really important to us, because what is very important to us also, it's many things, definitely kai, definitely food, definitely whānau, but also manaakitanga, caring for each other, putahitanga, unity, working together, and kaitiakitanga, caring for the sustainability of our people, place and planet.
Ahead is New Zealand's first AI-driven diagnostic and triage tool for mental health. So how what it does is it's an online one-stop shop for mental health and well-being, with the intention really that we help you figure out what your mental health issue is, and then find you the help that you need. So basically everything you need in one place, in your pocket, 24/7. And you can say, but why do you need to do that? And actually, if you think about the issues of that, New Zealand has the highest youth suicide rate. It's 5 times the OECD average, and so that's and that actually, for those who first have symptoms to when they first seek help, the lag time is 8 years. So that's 8 years of missed opportunity. And when you think about the Mental Health Inquiry report that was published in 2018, and the one that was done 20 plus years ago in 1996, they say the same thing. So for 20 years we had missed opportunity to make a change, and now young people continue to be lost, and this is the future of New Zealand. Why did we choose to use AI? I think it's a hot topic that people will ask the question of what's the social license that you have that allows you to use this technology. And one of the things that we're really proud of is we co-designed this whole process. So I started this in September of last year. We've co-designed it with more than 500 people all across the country. Even 200 of them are clinicians, so that we make sure it's clinically effective and safe. And that we did all of this meant that when we look at where our users are, they're all over the country. 97% of our funding goes to 3% of the people who have the most severe mental health disorders. So we know that basically we're only touching the tip of what needs to be done, and we know that actually like our clinicians are not happy. There's a strike at the moment going on with the clinical psychologists. So all of them across the DHB, 600 of them have said, no, enough. And so, and if you think about the fact that these people already have a 6 months wait list to kind of see someone, and then you have your clinicians kind of saying, enough is enough, I think we need to think about how can technology augment our limited workforce. Best practice is always going to be human-to-human contact, but how do we use technology to get people through the barriers that stop them from even getting to that point to start with? My final point really is, the way that we currently structure our health system is all the funded help that you can get goes through your GP. We know that 80% of Māori, 80% of Pacifica, and 80% of young people don't use primary care as their first point of call. So if you've designed a system where you know majority of people are not even going to go through, you failed. You failed to light a path for those who can only see darkness around them. So we hope that digital technology will be that great enabler that allows people to access care where they couldn't otherwise. So it's a free tool. Me and my team designed it, and we've been live for 6 months. We've gotten really great feedback. My favorite one is the chatbot helped me figure out, the chatbot helped me confront issues I wasn't willing to face, but now I'm seeking therapy for it. So basically we've achieved the problem we are trying to solve. And so my one ask is that, just share about Clearhead and say that, hey, this is a free tool you can use, because you never know who's silently suffering. And this could be that one thing that they saw that actually, instead of them taking the path of like, I can only see suicide as a way out, they'll try, hey, actually there might be something out there for me. So we've self-funded all of this because what we're trying to do is so new and so radical that people don't understand it, and so we had to kind of build it to kind of prove that it is possible. And like I said, we're not only in New Zealand first, but we're leading globally.
It's quite timely that I come in after my peer who sits here beside me. So I run an organisation in South Auckland called Ngā Rangatahi Toa. We're a not-for-profit. We've been around for 10 years now. And what we do is we work with young people between as young as 13 to about 18, and we use creativity as a vehicle to build resilience. So looking at building coping strategies in young people. The reason I do that for 2 reasons. One, it's like what my peer said, our youth suicide stats are too high. I grew up in a small town in Whakatane, and I watch people around me constantly die, and then I watch the generation after them die. For me, I have an intentional role in that as an adult. And part of that is about what's my commitment to reducing those youth suicide stats. At the moment, I've been in this role for the last 2 years. This is the vehicle that I choose to enable that, and it's creativity. I use creativity as a way for our people, our kids that are almost getting ready to get kicked out of school, our tutu ones, the ones that will get up and walk out of class, or the ones that will be scribbling, tagging, those ones. You'd be an amazing graph artist, bub. Come into my program, I will have you. The one thing I ask from them is that they come with an openness and a kindness to each other. That is what, I don't need to know the stats. I don't need to know that they're on reports. We all know that stuff. We know that narrative. What we do is we work with them in a strength-based way. We look at what they're good at, we honour it, and we validate it. And then I have a whole group of creative artists that come in alongside me and do that. I have the likes of Shapeshifter Boys, Bella Kalolo, Bailey Wiley, Mellow Downs, Church and AP, that will come into kaupapa with us and work alongside our babies. It's not about turning them all into creatives and being amazing musicians or actors. That's not what it's about. What we do is we teach them ways to be able to use their body so that they can validate that it's like, maybe my language is actually through movement. Maybe that is my language, that, okay, the written word, that might not be my jam, but let's honour it another way. And we honour that through NCA as well. So that our babies don't come out of school and it was a really bad time for them, but it's like, hey, you learn in a different way. You're a kinesthetic learner. And for so many of our Māori and Pacifica, it's learning that from a really young age. I never learned that to university. I was like, what's a kinesthetic? I've got boys go, I say, is he on his meds? Has he had his meds? It doesn't matter. We're doing dance today. We're doing movement. We've got the choreographers in. So he learns to be in his skin. And through that, we do it through Te Ao Māori. So we have our Rākau kaiako come in, we have our Waiata kaiako come in, and they learn that. They know Te Whare Tapawha around the 4 cornerstones of well-being, and for us it is well-being. It's not health, it's not section to just health or education. This is a whole system approach, and we need to come out of that thinking. Well-being is being exactly that, being well and being in your body. That is where we come into cases of dis-ease, when we're not one with each other, when we can't walk our authentic pathway. When my babies learn to be able to do that and validate who they are, we then take them to stage. So we've just come out of our theatre performance at Basement. So we've now had 7 years of sold out performances. I don't give these kids a script and go learn your lines. We co-design it. They have 5 days to co-design what they are going to take to stage. So for you in the room that have been in attendance to our theatre shows, you'll know what I mean. It's raw, it's provocative, and that's what it needs to be. Our babies know their story, they know their narrative. What I seek is critical conversations from you all, actually. For you all to go back into your workplaces, your organisations, your corporations, and ask where your CSR is going. If you don't know what the CSR is, then that's my invitation to you right there. Go back, ask them, but why do we support those organisations? How are we doing it? What are we doing? What's the intentionality that we walk that pathway and contribute back into community?
Many times at school when I was a child, I was asked what my name Areta stands for. Some of my uncles that would want to tease me used to say I was called a letter. And we're going to send your parents a letter. But every time I got asked by a teacher, I'd always say rising sunshine. And I always feel that that was what it was about. And so listening to you today, Paksy, about sharing, and yet taking care of ourselves as workers, and listening to all of you and the hard work that you do in the fields that we've all worked in, absolutely amazing. I'm absolutely blown away. I think the privilege is mine because I started off working in this area in the 70s. And like you now, it was put your head down and go. But somewhere along the way, some of this other training that you do have to go and do tells you take care of yourself. Because if you fall over, who's going to do the work? But the other thing I always learned from sitting at the marae was, doesn't matter what job you're given, you want to always look behind and see that rope that you're pulling with you has got someone else holding on to it. So we've talked a little bit about knowledge today, and so listening to what you're talking about is part of what we set in place for you. So I don't have to talk about how good I was, because no kumara talks about its sweetness. It leaves that for other people to talk about. But you've given me the opportunity to talk to everybody about your sweetness. And listening to those mokopuna this afternoon, you know, I've got 3 that would just rip this roof off if they were allowed to sing. That never happened in my day. It never happened in their parents' day. But what we did decide with our generation of children was that we were bringing back the language, and they had to do theirs by book. But it's amazing because it stayed there. And now, particularly in Auckland, there is this bicultural feel. And that's why it's such a privilege to be here, such a privilege to have heard what I've left behind, because I've had my time, and I'm really wanting to sit with my friend over there and learn how to be happy in my old life.